We're going to continue on to number 6. This is an addition of fractions question, but we need to remember to pay close attention when we see one like this on our test. We cannot add this just yet because we have a denominator of 10 being added to a denominator of 100. We cannot add fractions with unlike denominators. We have to convert them to make them the same. So you actually have two options with this one. One option would be to cross out a 0 from the numerator and denominator of 20 hundredths, and now we've magically got 2 tenths. We could add 7 tenths plus 2 tenths is 9 tenths. We do have another option, and I'm going to erase that and show you. We could easily just add a 0 to the numerator and denominator of 7 tenths, and now we have 70 hundredths plus 20 hundredths. 70 plus 20 is 90 hundredths. Either of these answers would be correct because they are equivalent fractions. Let's look at number 7. Number 7 says you can use manipulatives or drawings to help you as well, but they are not necessary if you don't need them. This says the Burj Khalifa is a skyscraper that is about 8 tenths of a kilometer tall. So this is a pretty tall skyscraper. It's almost a whole kilometer. The Makkah Royal Clock Tower is about 6 tenths of a kilometer tall. So not quite as tall, but still tall. The question they ask us is, how much taller is the Burj Khalifa than the Makkah Royal Clock Tower? When we see words like how much taller, this is telling us to use simple subtraction. We're going to give a number model with an unknown. 8 tenths minus 6 tenths equals maybe k for kilometers. Our denominators are the same, so we could do subtraction. 8 minus 6 is 2. Our denominator stays the same, so the Burj Khalifa is 2 tenths taller than the Makkah Royal Clock Tower. Moving on to number 8. This is a number story that says, on Monday, Abigail ran 4 1/3 miles. That's quite a bit. On Wednesday, she ran 3 2/3 miles. That's still quite a lot. The question is, how much farther did Abby run on Monday than she ran on Wednesday? So once again, when we see words like how much farther, that's going to be our clue to subtract. We're creating our number model with an unknown, 4 1/3. They're telling us that she did run further on Monday, so that's going to be our first mixed number in the equation. Minus 3 2/3 equals m for miles. This is one of those subtractions of mixed number problems where we're going to have to do some extra work first because the numerator 1 is smaller than the numerator 2. We cannot take away 2 from 1, so we've got a strategy for this. My favorite strategy is to cross out the whole number 4 and make it a 3. We've just taken away one whole. We can now take that whole and turn it into a fraction over here. So this would be like 3, and then 3/3 is that whole number I just took away. But we can't forget we already have a 1/3 over here. So this 4 1/3 could turn into 3 4/3. These are two equivalent mixed numbers. Now we have a numerator 4, which is greater than numerator 2, and we can subtract. 3 minus 3 is nothing. 4 minus 2 is 2. Our denominator stays the same at a 3. So this is telling us that on Monday, Abigail ran 2/3 of a mile greater than on Wednesday when she ran 3 2/3. Now there's another strategy that you could use to solve this subtraction problem if you did not want to use this first strategy that I showed you. So I'm going to erase what I did, and I'm going to show you the other option of flipping your mixed numbers to improper fractions. We use that times plus method, and we say 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13, 13/3, minus 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, 11/3. Now we've got them into improper fractions, and 13 is larger than 11. 13 minus 11 is 2/3, and you'll notice that we have the exact same answer either way that we choose to solve. It's up to you which way you choose. Moving on to subtracting fractions. It's the same thing as long as your denominators are the same. We're going to subtract our numerator. 3 minus 1 is 2, with a denominator of 6. You're done. And for those of you who want to think a little deeper into this, you could reduce this fraction to 1/3, because 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. But 2/3 is perfectly acceptable. I'm sorry, 2/6 is perfectly acceptable. You could also move on to letter B. 7 minus 5 is 2, 2/13. Letter C takes us into mixed numbers. This one should be easy because our whole numbers are able to be subtracted, plus our numerators are able to be subtracted. So 7 minus 6 is 1, 8 minus 1 is 7, with a denominator of 9, 1 and 7/9. But then we run into that same issue over here on letter D where our numerator 3 is smaller than our numerator 5. So we'll have to use one of those two strategies that I showed you right up here. I'm going to re-show you the strategy of crossing out the whole number. I'm going to cross out my 6 and make it a 5. Now I'm taking that whole number and I'm moving it over here to my fraction. Since my denominator is 11, it would be 5 and 11/11 right now to represent that 6. But I need to remember I already have 3 over here, so 11 plus 3 is 14. So 5 and 14, 11ths. Oops, I'm having some trouble here. Minus 2 and 5/11. 5 minus 2 is 3. 14 minus 5 is 9 over 11. 3 and 9/11. That saves you the trouble of having to reconvert it back into a mixed number when you're done. Let's move on to number 10. This is the line plot question, and it is going to be worth a lot of points on your test.